Live from the base of Mount Fuji in beautiful Shizuoka, Japan, it's the Saturday Morning Stream Show with your host, Michelle.
Hi, this is the Saturday Morning Stream Show, and I am Michelle, and your host, and this is Valis III. Welcome. So this is a game, like I said, called Valis III, and I just got this game a couple days ago, so we're going to play it. I'm kind of a fan of the series, so let's give this game a go. Okay. So, you're going to see a little bit of the story here, and I'll summarize it for you if you don't know. So, basically, there's this sort of alternate dimension, right? And this guy here, his name is Blames or something like that. And he is afraid that his world is going to get devoured by darkness or something like that, so, and disappear into the netherworld, so he wants to try and take over the human world, essentially. So his job is to move into the human world and take over their land, but he's a little bit worried because there's this sort of spirit world called I guess the dream world or something like that. In English, anyway, it was called the dream world, where so there's the ghost of this ancient spirit called Valis, which has a sword called the Valis sword. And in the first game of the series, the main character, Yuko, who's just a normal, average high school girl, like they always are in these shows and games, she gets the sword and is taken to the dream world to fight and protect the kingdom, and she transforms into the Valis warrior, which means she is upgraded with bikini-armor, which is theoretically not really an upgrade, but it's the 90s. And she fights in the evil, this is what you're seeing here, a little bit of a scene from the first game. In a bit of a twist, not really a major twist, but at the time it was kind of an interesting twist, her best friend or classmate is actually made into a villain, and she has to fight off with her. And, spoilers. Which, it's not really that big of a spoiler, because the game's going to show you. So basically, her best friend gets killed because she's being mind controlled or something by some dude named Logrez. Yeah. And so Yuko, the heroine, decides to go and beat the crap out of Logrez, which she does. Then in the second game, some dude named Magus, Magus, comes and he decides to take over the Dreamland kind of thing. And so Yuko goes back to try and save it. And she goes to meet this goddess woman or something, who's got all this power to try and awaken, like, the extra power of the sword or something like that. And the goddess woman gets captured, and she gets killed by Magus. Rather brutally, depending on which version of the game you're playing. And, yeah. So then Yuko goes all, no, why is every girl around me getting killed? But, there's also some, like, helper that the goddess had that I think helps Yuko out or something. So then Yuko kills Magus and avenges yet another female companion-y person, because this game is, amusingly lesbian-esque. And I say that because there's essentially no male main characters, as far as, like, good guy characters. There are enemy characters that are male, but that I know of, there are no male, hero characters. No good guy characters that are male. And so it leads you on this idea of, you know, This is some sort of crazy Amazon theme that they're going with. Whatever that means. Stereotype, I guess. Or it's, let's put thinly veiled lesbianism into our game about a super awesome hot warrior chick. Okay. So now, one more time, she's gotta go. So anyway, this dude, I forgot his name, Glames, is like, okay, the only way we're gonna be able to save our world is to move it from the dark world into the human world and take over the dream world. And to do that, we've got to stop Yuko, because she's got a Valis sword. And Glames apparently has a Valis spear or something like that, and that apparently if they ever two meet, there's big yeah. There's a definite Chopper Dave we have if they ever meet, supposedly. So, that's the story so far. And one thing I forgot, there's a girl, the red-haired girl that you see. Apparently she decides that she's going to do this all herself and she wants to get the sword. So let's press start. So here's this girl, and I think she's from one of the Dark Worlds or something, and she's like this girl. She's the Valis warrior? She looked kind of blue-haired and sleepy. Wow. Didn't know famous, amazing warriors could sleep. So basically, this girl here, whose name I don't remember, has stolen my sword. My Valis sword. That whoever the heck they are has stolen it. I can't transform without it, kind of thing. I need to get it back. Yeah. Oh, right, and I can't use them. I can jump. I can apparently press that button and hold in place. Didn't know that. Weird. Right, can't battle without the sword. Okay, so I can jump. Pajama antics! Let's go! So, this is also partly a news show. And in this week's news, what? I can't even remember what all has happened in this week's news. The news is so crazy recently. Donald Trump stepped in it again, only this time it's actually sticking for once. Meanwhile, in other news, the Dark World was attacked and was sinking into the Netherlands, and so the Nether regions, not the Netherlands. Just so you know, Netherlands, there is a Dark World coming. So she's like, yeah, what the heck are you doing with my sword? I don't even know. Oh, she says her name is Chan. That's right. Chem. And, Cham Gramus? Oh, Glames. Right, the bad guy, Glames. So basically she's saying Glames is gonna do some bad stuff and I'm gonna beat him with a sword. So, I got your sword. Yeah. And then, hey look, it's Glames. And Glames is like, well, I got you. This is not a very well thought out plan. She's like, what? Help me! She's like, I stole your sword, now help me! Okay. Oh, and so she throws it. Ah, the Valis sword! I better, like, do something about that. I'm just gonna jump off a building! Free fall! Free falling. Okay. Valis sword powers activates! Okay, so now we have Valis sword powers activate. Oh, okay, good to know that that's a dodgy slide button. sword upgrades. Oh, that's not how you dodge that. Nope. Let's jump over that. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't look good. Looks like a worm and a sexual thing. So I hope you can hear everything alright. The audio actually sounds a little bit loud in my ears. But hopefully it's all adjusted properly. We'll find out, I guess. This is the Sega Genesis, the Mega Drive, as it is in Japan. And this is the Mega Drive running RGB. But the Mega Drive's RGB only outputs mono sound. The system itself can do stereo, but not through the main port. So instead what it does is this particular cable pulls the sound out of the headphone jack on the... What is this? I'm guessing it's a water tower, but it looks kind of like V'ger. Hey look, it's a neon sign for the company that ported this game, because, you know... I always like when companies are like, we're so famous, look at us, we put neon signs in our game, because really we have the money for that in real life. Yeah. I think certain versions of the games, or certain games do have you actually sword fighting in your pajamas at some point. Could be wrong about that, but... Ow! Ow. Okay. This dude wants to be like low budget death, but instead he's just, you know, random first enemy boss dude. Maybe it was a Glames clone or something, I don't know. So, yeah, basically they talk about what's going on and why she needs help, and you're the Valis where, and I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. I really need to beat this dude, but I'm not strong enough, I guess. Maybe two people together we can do it. At that time, one guy. So I guess there was a guy that had the one sword, and a woman that had the other sword. Raises. Every final boss dude looks the same in this thing, I feel like. What's a Glames? What's a Glames? So Glames is like a dude who's trying to save our world by wrecking other people's worlds, I think. Well, that can't be right. That's not good. The human world needs to be like, you know, human and awful. But in its own little corner of awful. I always like how the human world must be protected at all costs because it's so much better than everyone else's world. Okay. What? I didn't actually... So it's kind of hard to read kanji and stuff on this TV because the Sega Genesis only has one output. And what that means is I'm having to run this RGB to my computer, right? And then I don't have a good output to the CRT television. And I'm in a different room, so I don't have the HD TV in this room right now. If I had the HD TV, that wouldn't be a problem, but I don't. So I've got the output going HDMI output to a little downscaling device that goes from HDMI to composite, and it's got really bad screen flicker. It's not terrible. I mean, I can play the game and everything. It looks slightly. It looks on roughly the same level as RF, an RF signal. But the side effect of that is that I can't read the text for crap because it's so blurry. I can sort of read it, but more complex kanji I just can't read. It's stupid. Pause. Oh, there we go. The switchy button. Now I can switch to Whip Girl. It's just not my favorite. Ah, no, I pressed the jump button, but somehow it didn't quite register on that edge there. So yeah, of the Valis soundtracks, I wouldn't say this is my favorite so far. I really like the soundtrack for the first Valis game. Two is pretty good as well. So I've got several of the games in this series. I've got all 4 of the games on the PC Engine, which is Valis 2, 3, 4, and then a remake of Valis 1. I've also got Valis 1 on the MSX computer, which is really bad, by the way. And I've got Valis 1 on the Famicom. I've got Super Valis, which I think is Valis. I think it's Valis 4. On the Super Nintendo. And I've got. Oh yeah, I can press up to jump higher. I knew that. Forget about that. What other Valis games do I have? Let's see. I've got Valis 3 on the Genesis, of course, as you can see. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. So Valis 3 is like the Castlevania 3 of Valis games in the sense that it allows you to change characters for the first time. Except they're all girls. Because lesbian-esque antics. Hey look, it's Death! Speaking of Dracula. I'll take you to someplace nice! So I guess Cham left a note saying you should trust this guy, or something. Hey, it's just like Castlevania. You actually have to fight mermen off from the boat, while trying not to get knocked off. And picking up items. Wow, they really ripped Castlevania off on this one, didn't they? Ah well. That's alright. I mean, it's... This game, in a lot of ways, is kind of a Castlevania ripoff to begin with, so... Although I think the first Valis game was actually out before the first Castlevania. I have to check that out. Don't remember if you're... Ooh, there we go. The first Valis game is on the PC-8801 system. Which I have recently bought. I've currently got 3 of them, of which one of them works completely, one of them has no sound, and one of them does not work at all. I'm trying to remedy the sound on the one, but we'll see. And then I've got another one coming in the mail, which I'm not sure how well it works at all or not. But I kind of bought some junk ones. Wow, that's not directly out of Castlevania. Well, and just about every other game too, really, but... Yeah. So So, okay, so you can kill the enemy shots, so that makes it a lot easier. Oh, and apparently you can't fall off the boat, it looks like. Well, that's good. So Valis III, I only have this version and the PC Engine version of. And I actually think I like the sound better. The PC Engine version's not bad, but because they're CD, they have the whole CD audio thing, and that's fine, but I actually really like the FM soundtracks of the Valis games, so, you know. Okay. Oh, missed the thingy. Oh well. But yes, the very first game is on the PC 8801, and I went to buy a copy of it, but currently the only copy I've seen goes for about $100. Was it 100 or 150? I don't remember, something like that. So yeah. We'll see if I can eventually get that. Like I said, I do have the MSX version of Valis 1. It is nearly unplayable, or at least it feels that way. The hit detection is awful. The game just... everything about the game is just bad. The way it plays, everything. I've heard that once you beat the first level, it's a lot easier, a lot better. But I can't beat the first level on the MSX version. Oh, I didn't see what that guy said. Well, he probably said, hey, get me the F out of here. Oh. Self-censorship there. Not really sure how I can get him out of there. If at all. Ooh, health. Yay! Do a slide, like a Belmont. Because this isn't a Castlevania ripoff at all. So yeah, like I said, you know, this game is, I think the original in this series was out before Castlevania, but this one in particular, Valis III, really is just kind of blatant. It's like they originated it, and then Castlevania went, this is how you actually make it, and then Valis went, oh, okay, we'll just do that instead. Oh, I messed up. Well, can't rescue that guy yet anyway. At least you don't die. That would be good. I mean, that would be bad. That would be good to die. The thing is, though, this is not a bad game at all, actually. Now, for some weird reason, the Genesis... the Genesis is kind of strange on this one. Because Valis II, I think it is, doesn't have a standard port of the actual main game. Instead, what it has is... and I don't know what these upgrades do, by the way. I have no idea. Okay, I can't switch, apparently. Oh, time's up? Aww. So, I believe it's Valis II. The Genesis doesn't have a normal version of it. Instead, it has an SD version of it. So it's got Chibi SD Valis, which amusingly is titled as Sid of Valis, I believe in America, like SYD. So it's like SD for Sid. Instead of just calling it, you know, SD or Super Deformed Valis, they just called it Sid of Valis. Which is silly. But anyway. I'm wanting to say I used to have that actually, but I don't know what I did with the Valis stuff when I came back from America. I know I bought one of the Valis games a couple years ago when I was in Japan on the Genesis. I think it was Valis 1. And then I don't know. I guess maybe I sold it because I didn't have a Genesis back home. Probably what the deal was. I think I bought it thinking that I think what happened was I was in a store and I bought it thinking it was a Famicom cartridge, not paying enough attention. It was like, you know, 50 yen or something like that, and I just grabbed it and went, oh, that's Valis, and threw it in my cart. And didn't really look at it at all. And discovered later, wait a second, this is a Mega Drive cart, not a Famicom cartridge. So, then I guess I sold it when I got back to America or something. Because I know I didn't buy a Genesis in oh, okay, that works. Just do a enemy knockback barrel roll. But yeah, I don't know why. I think I had a Genesis back in America at that time. Can I jump down? No? Can't jump down? Okay, how am I gonna get down there? Not entirely sure that's a good idea. Oh! Okay, that's how I get out of here. Oh, no, 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 no! Oh! Blah. Oh, that's... You know what? I'm just gonna jump off this hole over here. That's a better idea. Wait, how do I get up there? I want to rescue you, dude, but you're not making it easy. Okay. Not sure what to do here. I want to just jump down to the platform, but it won't. Oh, there it goes. Nah. Oh. Touch the game? Programmer? This is one of the game programmers. Is that Gaia or Kairos? Kairos? Huh. Okay. Alrighty. So, I guess I found an Easter egg. A vaguely hidden game programmer. Wish he'd deliver me some cheats. That would have been nice. Or some more lives. So yeah, I'm actually I did sell that Oh, that's right. I kept the Valis game for a while, and I played it on my Genesis that I had at the time using a Game Genie because the game didn't actually fit cleanly into the system because of the difference between the Japanese cartridges and the American ones. So I used the Game Genie to plug it in. Waterna? I don't know who Waterna or Valna or something. Oh, Varna. Valna? I don't know. Kind of comment. Something about a crystal, it looks like. And I guess something about finding a crystal. I can't know. It's very hard to read. I'll just, you know, climb. I'll just keep climbing. Rock climbing. Rock climbing. Oh right, I've only got 70-something seconds left, so I better hurry up. And not get hit by that dude. Go. Please reset my time. Oh, good, it did. Hey, look, it's the overgrown land of overgrown growth. Okay. I always wanted to see someone do some cosplays of this game. I always thought of these games and its characters, because I always thought this would be really good for cosplay. So the thing about the Valis series is that the designers of this game, or this series, made a bunch of games actually early on in the video game history, and then they stopped. And then about, I don't know, 10 years later, they were like, what can we do with this IP? Because we have no money. And they're like, okay, let's turn it into a series of hentai games. So they just started making a few, like 1 or 2 hentai games based on this, where all the main characters just, you know, all the things you could expect from a really poorly designed, gimmicky hentai game. With fantasy elements. You can imagine where that's going, tentacles. And, oh look, we've rescued Valna. Valna? I think that's Valna. I can't tell very well on here. It's Warna or Valna. The screen's flickery too much to see. So I guess she was stuck in a crystal by Glames, it looks like. And, Kororamba? I don't know who Kororamba is. So, basically, I don't know, Kororamba was her friend, boyfriend, husband, probably not, girlfriend, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't believe Exile ever did get made into hentai games. Could be wrong on that, but I don't believe so. Exile, if you don't know, is another kind of similar kind of deal. Just a really random game that was kind of sort of popular in Japan, at least, and came over to America, but was so heavily edited and didn't really make much sense to begin with that it kind of fell under the radar, although it was an interesting little platforming kind of thing. I've got the first and second one on PC Engine, maybe? Yeah. And I think I ordered one of them, or maybe I was going to order one of them on PC-88. But anyway. This world is something or other. I don't know. Typical what you would expect to stop screwing around with my world kind of stuff. Oops, that's not how you jump. That's how you jump. Well, that's... Jump higher. And hit the enemy. Ow, and don't hit the fire. Jump higher, don't hit the fire. Nope, more jumping. Ducking. Bullets. Faster. Ow. So as you can see, this is not like super difficult. Some of the at least Valis 2 got kind of challenging in the end game because the sort of the damage scaling wasn't very good. But in general, the games aren't like super hard. Valis 1 was... It took a while, but I definitely did beat it. The remake, by the way. The original, I'm not sure I could do that. We'll see one day. Yeah, Exile seemed like a really cool game from what I've played of it. I haven't played a whole lot of it, but I really like the gameplay style of it. Okay, so now we have our lesbian warriors unite! Yay! Let's save the world with peace, love, and homosexuality of the female kind. Or something. Hey, it's our typical Castlevania-esque underwater ruins area. Which everyone does, not just Castlevania. Come here, platform. Thank you, platform. There's a bell. Something about a new power or something? What? Oh. The bell has rung. Ow! I have died. Okay, press start to continue button. Yes! So, what else is going on in the news? What would you like me to talk about? During this week, a lot of interesting things have happened. So, in my personal life, not a lot has happened except for, new teachers have come. This is the time of the year when all of the teachers who are finishing the program that I'm on, they leave. And new ones come in. So I have a new neighbor downstairs who seems like a really cool guy and may or may not be watching this. Probably isn't watching this right now because I don't think he's got internet, but we'll probably be watching at some point. Yeah. There we go. Ringing my bell. Ringing my bell. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing here. No. Maybe I can switch characters. Cool. I can. Can I switch to the Cham as well? Oh, neat. Party system. Oh, right, the Olympics started in Brazil, of course. And I guess we'll see how that goes. Our English club did a research project on Brazil for the school festival because of the Olympics. And where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to be doing here? Killing lots of dudes. I don't know if I'm supposed to be reading the... What am I... I feel like I'm missing something very heavily. Missing something here. So yes, the Olympics started if you're interested in the Olympics. Just to break this bell, or I'm supposed to... I can't seem to move on. Though I'm not entirely sure I've actually tried. Okay, let's change. She's got the whip of killing these dudes, apparently. Nope, can't go that way. Apparently. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna time out. Can't go back. What in the world am I supposed to be doing here? Okay, not really sure what's going on. If I could read what is being said, maybe I could figure something out, but... Oops. I think it said something about getting a new power. The bell's ringing now, but I don't know what good that does. I cannot read the text at all. Maybe I'll ring the bell with all the characters and see. Ow. if there's any benefit to ringing the bell with all three of the characters. Probably not. Okay. Now let's start ringing the bell with her. Oh, okay. Apparently I did need to actually ring the bell with all three characters. Wow. That's dumb. Let's use Big Bro. Cham. Something about a Nerubian road, something? I don't know. Some sort of road. I wonder what her upgrades are like. So Valis IV, I think, is only the side characters. I don't think Yuko is the main is in it, or she's not one of the main characters anyway. Or maybe Valis IV has completely different characters that look similar to the side characters from this game. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure that Valis IV does not have Yuko. Would be nice if I had an English version of this. Probably censored too much though. Oh, where'd she go? This series has varying levels of censorship kind of things, depending on which version you play. Like, the PC Engine version of it has a scene at the beginning where she's putting on her clothes, and you can see her underwear, like all of her underwear. Whereas the original PC-88 version of Valis II, anyway, has like a completely topless scene or two. Several completely topless scenes. And then other versions have like nothing at all. I guess it depends on what company, you know, like Nintendo being more strict than, say, Sega, or the PC having pretty much no rules at all. Pretty much with the PC systems, there was no direct control over the software on them, so it was really up to your company, and as long as you didn't break Japanese law, to do whatever you wanted with them. And in the 80s, the laws were a little bit less strict and less enforced, perhaps? Or maybe more strict but less enforced, maybe is a better way of putting it. So sometimes you would have just like fully naked and like no censored stuff in video games, in the PC games in the 80s. And then as the 90s rolled on, it started to get more and more censored, and you had all of the mosaics and that kind of stuff. But then companies like Nintendo, you know, just didn't want it. Sony was kind of, we probably don't want it, but they'll let some stuff slip through. Because Sony did want to be a little bit more viewed as the slightly more mature. Wanted to be sort of the slightly more mature system, which they did get that reputation, I think. So that's I died. Not sure what that is. Ow. Now the PC Engine is kind of an interesting exception to that. They pushed it a little bit further than other systems. So, like, the PC Engine, on occasion, you could get away with actually having, like, flat-out boobs in a game. It wasn't common. It wasn't super common. But there were definitely scenes. Like, there's one game called, Fiend Hunter, or some other game, I don't remember which, where the main character is this girl who's diving for treasure, and so she gets naked and goes diving, and she's swimming around naked underwater, like you'd expect someone to do, of course. And it's not like a sexual thing, she's just swimming naked. Is there something I'm supposed to do here? Just survive, or maybe I'm just supposed to survive. I survived. Yes. Okay. Cool. Yeah, Snatcher is a good example. Various versions of that have various levels of censors. Is also an interesting example of that as well, which, oh. What's this dude saying? Something about... I can't read it. I can't... See, I can't read that kanji. It looks like I can almost read it. It looks like the kanji for, like, a car or something, and then the other one's the... I can't read it. Something about a new city or something? I don't know. Nuzeti? I can't. It's just too blurry on the screen. Maybe if I looked at the other screen I could read it, but it's kind of on the other side of the room, so yeah. But yes, Snatchers is a game that featured some nudity, depending on which version of it you played. The MSX version, there was really no particular restrictions to it, so it did have some nudity. And then we end up on, I think Sega Saturn? And maybe PlayStation? I could be wrong, I don't remember. I was going to say it was on Saturn. And then that stuff's removed. And then other versions have stuff removed. Is a hentai game for the PC-98 with one of the best stories in hentai eroge games ever, and in a lot of ways a really, really great story just in general, even like among normal games. It's so well written and so well designed, the way the plot works out, it's just really fascinating. And the characters are all actually fairly interesting too, which is good. It involves this sort of a time travel, not really time travel, but sort of an in-between dimensional travel kind of thing. Okay, so here's a transformation cutscene to get extra power, but if this were another version of the game, perhaps on, say, a PC system, you would have probably seen her naked when she transformed, because that's just kind of how things were different. But yes, was a game on the PC-88 that was it was a straight-up sex game. Well, I would say it had sex in it. I wouldn't necessarily call it a straight-up sex game. I mean, it definitely had sex in it, and it was marketed as a sex game, but the plot overshadows that greatly. But on the PC-98, it was pretty much uncensored. And then the game was later ported to Sega Saturn, and roughly all the nudity was removed, or censored up a bit, and the sexual scenes Well, I think some of the nudity remained in a very censored version, and then the sexual scenes were mostly taken out, I believe. Then there was a Windows remake that had higher resolution graphics, but was still slightly more censored, but it still had all the sex scenes. So it was kind of a port remake thing. And had voice acting, but also had music that was not the best version of the music, and so on. So you go from like censored or uncensored to censored to slightly uncensored again. And then some people made a few years ago made a translation of it into English. And they removed all the uncensored. They took the best graphics from each version. They added in scenes that were added only in the Sega Saturn version. They added in music from the original version. And they just kind of compiled this super, like a premium best version possible by combining elements of all the other versions into the best possible version. By the way, with the blessing and more than blessing, quite a lot of praise from the original game designer and the original sound producer, who actually helped them out quite a lot in how to do their translation before he passed away, unfortunately. Oh wow, I died really quickly. Dang. Let's switch to the other girl. And unfortunately, both the original game designer, the writer, programmer guy, and the game's composer have both died. Both within like less than a year of the translation coming out. This big overhaul translation for a game that hadn't seen a release since 1996 or 97 or something like that. And now, I think partly because of that translation, the game is actually getting remade on PS Vita. With all new graphics, all new, everything overhauled, complete remake. New character designs based on the original, but not nearly as good, I don't think, in some cases. And so on. I'm still gonna get it and play it because I just love the game and its story so much. But I'm pretty sure all of the sexual stuff is going to be removed because Vita has rules. So, it's just another weird case of games going hentai and then not hentai and then back and forth, and you never quite know depending on what version. Nudity is kind of this weird thing of it's switching between companies, and then it switches between systems, it switches between time periods, between countries. Some games have nudity in the Japanese version, and then it's removed for the American version, stuff like that. So it's kind of a weird mishmash when it comes to nakedness. Which is funny because now, it's kind of reversed. American games can by and large, depending on what company you're with, anyway, can get away with nakedness. Like on Sony systems and stuff like that, they have nudity in them. In America. But not in Japan. In Japan, they still have a lot of heavy restrictions on that stuff. And so, you get a lot of games that tease nakedness on PS Vita or PS4 or PS3, but don't actually show anything. It's censored just away. So, no breasts in the, anime games. Even games like Senran Kagura, which are all about, like, making girls naked. You still can't actually see any of the full-on nudity. Whereas America doesn't seem to have a big problem with that anymore, and it's really confusing to me that it's sort of switched in that way, to where Japan is more censorship heavy now, and America's less. But then America does all the complaining too. It's extra weird because America's like has all of the you know, the sort of the feminist, the extremist feminists, I should clarify that, who get mad if any girl is in any game doing anything that's not, you know, that's even remotely sexual. On one extreme. And then on the other extreme, you have you have all kinds of sex games and stuff like that. They come out, and I don't know, it's very hard, it's very confusing, because it seems like games, like it seems as if Japanese games are targeted more for their sexual content when they actually have less sexual content than the than the American games. And I think it has to do more with the way the context is designed. It's more sexualized. Oops, and a game over. I think in Japan, even though you're seeing less nakedness, the nakedness itself is done in a different way, with a different intent, and I think that's one of the things. It's like you look at, for example, okay, Heavy Rain. Shower scene, sex scene, essentially. Very realistic nakedness. Roughly no complaints made at all. Then Japan comes out with a game where there's actually no nakedness at all. There's no revealing of any breasts or nipples or anything like that. There's underwear and stuff like that. Like, for example, let's say Akiba's Trip. We'll just pick on that for a second. Because other people pick on it. You get that game, and even though there's no actual nudity in it at all, it gets severely criticized online under the argument that it's sexualizing girls, and that it's that it's rape, even though there's no sexual actions being done at all, and in the game's story that's not at all what's happening. And to make it even more ironic or weird, the American version intentionally added in male characters so that it would be equal and not disproportionately women getting, being attacked or whatever, in the game. By the way, if you don't know what the game is about, it's about, essentially there's these monsters running around in Akihabara, and they can disguise themselves as humans. The only way to find out if they're not is to essentially battle them and then strip them down to their underwear, and use this sort of detector thing or something that tells you if they're evil or not. And then if they're villains, you can kill them. Which is, let's be honest, is a really silly and easily abused concept. Can easily turn into a sexual fetish game for people who perhaps want to do deviant behavior but don't actually do it in their real lives. And that comes with its own set of problems. But in an attempt to alleviate this, for the American version, they tried to sort of desexualize it in that way, or at least make it not so much one-sided by adding in a lot more male enemies. But you see, the response was still extremely negative. But then at the same time, lots of American games have sex and nudity in them, And they're not criticized at all. Some of them are even praised. So it's this weird, and I'm not arguing whether or not this is all good or bad. I'm just saying that there's this weird sort of conundrum where nakedness and strong female characters are being censored from one country and not censored from another country, or being sort of evaluated differently based on cultural standards. And intent plays a heavy role in that, because you look at games like well, shoot. You look at games like, what do you call it? Dead or Alive, or the most recent one, I guess, Virtua Fighter, I think it was. And you see that the intent is completely different than, say, Mass Effect. With its, well, admittedly non-nude sex scenes, or Heavy Rain, or other things. But then you've also got games like God of War, which just have random nudie sex scenes, you know, that are not, or The Witcher, or things like that, that are not. Well, The Witcher's sex scenes make sense in context in terms of relationships and those sort of things. But okay, it's so hard to dodge these things. No, I can't switch. But yeah, it comes down to just this weird sort of convergence of ideas, and not a lot of understanding about the cultural problems that lead to this convergence and shape it. Because Japanese society has just a completely different role for women than American society does right now. And while that stuff is changing, it's still completely appropriate to sexualize women in that way here. And Japan has this sort of old-fashioned, or kind of a, well, this is just how it is, and human beings are this way, so why should we pretend it's not the case kind of attitude. Sort of a, let's just maintain the status quo, and I'm going to keep on, you know, looking at naked girls all the time in books and magazines. And I think, for me, personally, as long as it's fictionalized, I have no problem with that. Now, I recognize that some people, especially in Japan, can't separate their realities from their fictions. And that's when it becomes a problem. But for me, I don't have that problem. Even though I get really romanticized and attracted by fictions and want to write and create things, I can still recognize that it's not reality. Oh, dang it. So for me, it doesn't bother me if a game wants to have a lot of sexual content, even if it's, you know, might be considered inappropriate or offensive by certain people. That should be my choice. And I do make the choice as to what's, you know, okay, this is too much, this is not cool, you know, this is just, you know, some things are just sex for sex, and they're not even remotely cool about it. Some things have, you know, especially in Japan, have way too much rape in it, unfortunately, because there's sort of this, I don't know, it's kind of a long history, it would be hard to go into, sort of cultural thing of sort of weakness versus dominance, and how that plays out in relationships, and it happens a lot in homosexual relationships in fiction too. It's not just limited to heterosexual stuff in terms of fiction. Dang it, I'm not doing a very good job of dodging this stuff. But nevertheless, it's there. So it's just so nudity and sexuality is just a really weird thing. And I will say, someone pointed out that in Akiba's trip, a large part of it was people not playing the game, and that's certainly true. A lot of people who complained about the game did not play it and did not understand it at all. It's a game that really shouldn't have, in my opinion, really shouldn't have even come to America in a lot of ways. And I don't mean that because, oh, it's offensive. I mean it because it makes no sense in context. It is a game that is 100% localized to a specific place. And we're talking about a game that is based entirely off a culture that exists within about 4 blocks of one city in the world. And if you don't live in Japan and you've never been to that place, by and large the game's just not going to make sense. And to that extent, I think it's very difficult for that game from the beginning. I think it probably shouldn't have even come to America, just because its cultural it relies so heavily on its cultural context, which can't be reproduced. I mean, you can't explain to someone what Akihabara is like. They have to go there and they have to experience it. You can try, but it just doesn't come across well, I think. So, Akiba's trip was hurt by the fact that people, A, weren't even playing the game, and B, some of the people who were had zero context for what the designers were trying to do. Because the designers themselves, while admittedly liking sexual stuff, were designing the game largely around a parody of the otaku culture in Akihabara. Specifically in Akihabara, because it's a little bit different even than other parts of otaku culture. I mean, some of the types of cafes and stuff they have, you know, women, you know, girls walking around in cosplay on the street, passing out signs to get you to go into their bars and clubs. Just, you know, all but flashing themselves to people, you know, just trying to get people to go inside on every street corner. The hypersexualized, way inappropriate nature of it at times. You know, all the figures and merchandise and stores where, you know, you go in it and you know which one's naked and which one's not. You know, the 3-story stores with, you know, a whole floor that's, you know, all the stores in Akihabara, all the game stores and stuff, and even the anime stores, you know, they have entire floors dedicated to sex games, sex objects. You know, you can buy sex toys, manga, videos, you know, just games, just whole floors dedicated to it, whole huge sections. All designed around, essentially, giving men and women sex without having to actually spend the work and effort on forming relationships. Fantasy sexual relationships. And Akihabara has created this world where fantasy is the only reality for a lot of these people. That the real reality is way too harsh and way too uncaring. And so that fantasy is their world, and for some of them it's really hard to disconnect from that, to go out and form real relationships and go out and you know, be a part of that. So they may have like 1 or 2 friends that they walk around Akihabara with, and they all buy the, you know, the figures and the merchandise and the soundtrack CDs and the doujinshi with their favorite characters having sex and all that kind of stuff. And it's like this microcosm of a country that's falling apart in a lot of ways because nothing new is happening. It's stagnant. It's literally sexually and emotionally stagnant. And this is what Akiba Strip was trying to express by essentially taking that world and parodying it and turning it on its head and saying, look, this is how ridiculous your sexualization is. By sort of putting that world of fantasy and sex and all that sort of stuff on its head and saying, this is what would happen if your reality, if your fantasy worlds actually came to life. This is a game about that. And yes, it's hypersexual, and the reason is because it's trying to convey, I think, in my mind, it's trying to A, both sell copies, and B, convey the flaws in that lifestyle. And I think it does it, but you have to play the game, A, and B, know what Akihabara is about to begin with, to really understand and experience all that. And that's something that all of the people that were complaining about it here in the US, I think, didn't have. So to them, it's just a game where you go around, cutting clothes off of women and fighting. And they see that and they think, this is just horribly sexist. Even though they added in men to try and further drive home the point of, it's not about the sex, it's about the parody of the culture. But that was completely lost on people. So yeah, you've got this weird thing going on where Japanese culture is liked by people in America, but not understood by people in America. And it comes with its own caveats and conundrums, which Americans and the American cultural style of addressing social issues is just not equipped to face, I think. How do I use my MP? Got MP, but I don't know how to use it. Okay, or I'll just die. Oh, right, I have to press start. Let's see here. Sorry about that. Okay. So that's my rant, or not rant, but that's my just thoughts to consider about nudity, censorship, and the way things are in America and Japan. Because they really are two different cultures, and there's a lot of things about Japanese culture that don't make sense. On the surface, they seem normal. They seem the same. But they're not. And Japan has its own weird take on it. This is why, PS Vita can't have any boobs. It can have everything but nipples. It can have games like Senran Kagura where you literally battle girls until their underwear explodes off of their body, but you can't show a nipple. Whereas America can show full-on sex scenes, but nobody cares. And yet, it's the Japanese games that get the complaints, and the American games don't. So, that's a crossroads of social context that is very just beyond difficult. It's weighty, it's thick, it's hard to quantify and put into words what that means for industries like gaming. And I think until people figure that out, gaming itself is going to go through some real struggles. And so that's why games like this have varying degrees of censorship, from this game, which has pretty much no nudity at all, to PC Engine version, which has underwear, to PC versions, which have flat out boobs. Well, I don't mean flat boobs, I mean like straight up, here are some boobs and nipples. Because there's not one standard. Culturally, and even, company-wise, there's just not one standard for that sort of thing. Yeah, and that's something else that people don't understand too. Someone pointed out to me on my stream page. So, by the way, if you're watching the stream live, you can join in the conversation, which is something really cool. If you're watching it on YouTube, you're getting the commentary, but you can't really comment back, and so that's sad. But someone on YouTube, Tom, pointed out that a lot of young people talk about why they want to go to Japan, and essentially, it's just Akihabara. What they're saying is that I love this Akihabara anime culture so much, I want to go to Japan. And it's like, well, that's not really what Japan is like. And you can find that, you can always find that culture, but it's usually in shops in the back corner somewhere. You've got to go like find the right shop. The rest of Japan is kind of a strange, different place. You can find that otaku culture, but like the hardcore mass of it is concentrated in literally like, you know, one suburb of one city in the entire country. And while it has a broad range appeal and it does escape out, Akihabara is one of the only places I feel like where it's truly acceptable. Where while you're there, you don't have people looking at you going, okay, you're one of those. Even in the stores, like the used gaming stores and stuff like that here that have all of the anime manga, all the goods, all of the character stuff, and the, you know, yaoi manga and all that kind of stuff, everyone in them has this, and video games, has this feeling, seems to have this look on their face like, I know I'm being judged. I feel like I'm being judged for even being in this store. That's how you feel when you're in these stores. It's like, oh, I'm otaku because I'm in this store. People are going to look down on me. And people shouldn't have to feel that way. But that's how Japan can be sometimes. You know, it's funny because, like, there are huge sections for romanticized, fantasized, homosexual, gay male manga, just yaoi. I'll just put it like that. But to explain it for people who don't know, it's a highly romanticized, highly fantasized gay male porn. Not always porn, but, you know, essentially porn, designed for women who love pairing men in homosexual couplings. And the thing about that is, all the sections are huge in some of these stores that have it. Like, there's a store in the capital city of my prefecture that opened up recently, and they have a small library just of, like, fan-made, not even like official, but fan-made, just of the fan-made comics, fan pairings and stuff like that, and then a whole other section just for official stuff. And there's always tons of girls in there, and every single one of them looks completely and totally ashamed. There's a lot of times they'll wait around the corner, and if they see someone, especially if they see someone that they perceive as male, but in general, if they see someone else in the section, they won't go in. They'll wait until they're by themselves to look at stuff, or they'll hide their face with a manga so that people don't see who they are, and stuff like that. And they're really, really shy and really, really ashamed. And I mean, you look at the words. One of the main words that Japan has for this type of person is fujoshi, which literally means something along the lines of useless trash, or useless, you know, woman. Or, sorry, woman, but also useless trash is basically what it means. That they're a waste of femininity. That their sexuality and their sexual organs are being wasted on their on their fantasies, on their likes. And the fact that a culture tells them, you cannot like what you like. If you do, you are a waste of a human being. If you're not sexually productive with a male and having babies, you are a waste of human space. That's how they're treated. And so they go into these places and they, maybe they don't want to have a relationship. Maybe they just want to see, two guys, banging each other. And that's what makes them happy. And maybe they want a relationship with a guy or a girl. Maybe they don't. But because the society says that you have to, be having sex with men and reproducing, if you're not, you're trash. You're literally human filth. They don't want to be seen in these stores. They don't want their face to be seen. They don't want to be caught looking at comics. And it's not because they're embarrassed about the nakedness. It's not like America where we have this sort of sexist shame thing. The sex itself is not essentially shameful because men can look at nudie comics all day long. You can go into the convenience store and buy full-on boobs out, sexy sex up, P and V manga right on the bookshelf. And you see every now and then, you see people reading it on the trains and stuff. And that's not just junk. Like, it's not just stereotype of Japan. The old men read porn on the trains. It happens. I have seen it myself. But if women do that, if women like reading that stuff, or if women like reading the gay, version of that stuff, they're instantly put in a position of shame. And that's wrong to me. But that's also something that America doesn't understand. America's like, we need feminism, we need, and we do. We need feminism to sort of, I don't know, it's sort of this thing of like, we need sexual liberation in the sense that women should be able to choose what they want, but the moment a woman chooses something that we don't like, we're going to criticize it and be negative about it. If a woman chooses to be in a sexual position or in a sexual film or whatever, then they get highly critical of that. And Japan has just the opposite, which is that women aren't allowed to choose. Women do. I mean, women go out there and buy all the yaoi porn they want, but socially, they're not even allowed that choice. Not because of feminist values, but because of the lack of feminist values. Because women are seen as they must do X, and if they're doing Y, they're a waste of space. They're a burden on the whole population. And that's just wrong to me. So I personally don't shy away from the more sexual components of Japanese culture. I don't wallow in it or make it sort of a escape from full-on reality. I don't make it sort of the replacement for my reality. Oh, I need that heart. Yes! Alright. Cool. Maybe we can just do it this time. But at the same time, I feel like it's important, for me, it's important to be able to be proud of what I enjoy. And not be ashamed of it. And teach other people that they don't have to be ashamed of it. And maybe that's not a very, maybe that's not a very Japanese thing to do, especially not as a teacher, but of course I don't do these things in situations where my students might find out about it. But nevertheless, like, my students shouldn't have to feel bad. I have students Because there are students that I know who are interested in that kind of stuff. I know several girls in particular who are very interested in yaoi type stuff, and they won't outright admit it, but I know for a fact that they like the sexual yaoi porn stuff, and they're actually legally too young to be looking at it, but I know that that's what they're doing. I don't know if they realize that I know, but I know. And they have so much shame and guilt over that. On one level, they're still proud of it, because they still make their own, you know, comics and stuff, and they censor themselves for the stuff that they make in terms of like what can be shown, what can be given away in school. Because I know there's one club in particular that does art and books and stuff like that, short stories that they compile into a book for the school festival each year. But nevertheless, like, they still censor themselves, and they still act very shy and ashamed about their hobbies and their likes. And I think that they shouldn't have to feel that way. In that sense, I think Japan really does need feminism. Because it needs to... There needs to be this feeling in Japan more that women should be more free to make their own choices. And it's not always going to be something that, you know, increases the birth rate and all that kind of other stuff. But I think if you empower women more, you're going to find more opportunities for child rearing that you might not find in the current culture as it is. Dang it, it's just such a hard boss because this stupid thing is so hard to dodge. So, I would say, don't knock the value of feminism, but also don't knock the way the American culture in particular, and American feminism, does not understand the needs of Japanese culture and Japanese feminism. It's a huge cultural, like I said, convergence that's hard to sort of weed your way through, but it can't be completely ignored. So I'm going to try this. This is going to be my last game over before I quit for the day. I know I've rambled on and on about sex and video games, and I've tried to be very fair and even-keeled with my approach. Some people might not like my approach, and they say, "Oh, you're just whitewashing or what's the word? Apologizing for Japan." No, I'm not. I'm just saying that we need to understand what context they're coming from before we criticize them, because we can't criticize them fairly until you do understand that. And so this has been the lesbian-esque bikini-clad adventure, Valis III. Go out, enjoy what you love. If it's a sexual thing, enjoy it. If it's a non-sexual thing, enjoy it. If you... whatever it is. Just love what you do. Be you. Enjoy that. And don't ever say "do you," because I hate people who say, well, I don't hate people, but I hate when people say "do you," because A, that's not really grammatically all that correct, and B, it sounds like having sex with yourself, because, yeah. Do what makes you happy. Let's not shorten everything too much. As long as it doesn't hurt anybody else or infringe on anyone else's rights, enjoy it and don't feel shame about it. I enjoyed Valis III, even though it has bikini-clad, lesbian-esque, slightly sexualized characters. It's a fun platforming game. I hope you enjoyed the Saturday morning stream show in all of its way too thought-out glory. And I will see you next time. I believe next week we will be doing the Saturday morning stream show like normal. It should be fine next week. The week after that, I'm not entirely sure, because I will be going to a summer camp, and we'll probably be back in time to do the Saturday morning stream show. But it's a little bit tenuous right now, so we'll find out more. And look forward soon to the PC-88 being streamed live. That will be happening here soon. So I hope you enjoy that. And I will see you next time. Goodbye.